It's me again. Today is Saturday, July 2nd, 2022. And yesterday there was some news because on June 30th, the organization Oilco had changed its name to Nextbridge Hydrocarbons, as shown here on the Nevada Secretary of State website, otherwise known as the Nevada Silver Flume. I'll post it here. As you can see, it's now Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. And in fact, if you go to this website, you type in Nextbridge Hydrocarbons, there it is. The Nextbridge Hydrocarbons website, as shown here, is still down. All that you would be able to see is the old home pages, the homepage 2, which is the old one, or any archived home pages from the Internet Archives, aka the Wayback Machine. So this blew up yesterday on Twitter as I was going to get the newest member of my family. We picked up a puppy. Yesterday it was puppy pickup day from the breeder. And naturally, of course, when I'm on the road, that's when things happen. I will also state that according to the Nextbridge Hydrocarbons website, previously it was common authorized shares of 250 million and 25 million preferred. That number has doubled. It's now 500 million and now 50 million preferred. So a lot of people are asking me exactly why did this change, to which I don't really have a specific answer yet, and hopefully there is some news that comes out with the S1 that talks about that. I will say that, the previous one under Oilco was 250 million. This new one is 500 million. Okay, that's doubled, right? So we talked about previously that maybe there would be a forward split going into Oilco, like one MMTLP would equal 1.515 Oilco, or now Nextbridge shares. Right? We talked about that a few times if there was a split. If that was indeed, 250 million, that's about 50% of the shares. Right? The amount of royalty interest or revenue interest that Torchlight has in the Oro Grande is 49.9%. Very close to 50. Berta had stated in previous videos that he wanted this to be a package deal. What if it's double, not because maybe dilution, but because that this would be a package deal for everybody involved. Like this, if there was a buyer lined up, this would account all interested parties involved, royalty holders or otherwise. That could be the case. Like, what if the interested parties want to buy 100% of the royalty, 100% of the property, or like close to it as you can, 90 something percent. And that would be reflected upon our value. We don't really know for sure though, until the S1 is released. And this also might explain why there is an S1, because you're trying to get other parties involved. We will see. There also might be a direct offering of some sort to raise capital, because we do need to complete the 2022 drilling plan, which is 5 additional wells. You might have to raise some capital, of course. And one of the agreements to the loan, remember that loan that Meta gave to Oilco, which is due September 30th. This is one way how to pay back that loan. 2, this would be also a way to get that $25 million, which was part of that contingency as well. And that would give the 2022 drill plan operating capital to complete the 5 additional wells, and as well as, overhead, salaries, So that's why there might be an S1 and, why there's an S1 even if it's going private, of course, because they still have to create some capital there. Now, is this, a lot of people are going to scream dilution. Here's the deal. Here's how you look at to play the game, right? Going into Oilco, when the S1 comes out, afterwards, when the new record date comes out, the PR is released with the new record date, MMTLP could very well have a run-up, because if it's private company, that's going to be pressure for lenders of those shares to say close out your positions. We don't want a private company. We can't have a private company close your positions out. Based on the run-up isn't based on 500 million shares, okay? It's still based off of 165 million shares. And how are they going to cover on a private company, right? How is somebody going to cover on a private company post spin out into a private company? It's going to be very difficult. The best chances are, of course, covering before MMTLP goes into Oilco, which, we're going to change that and update it now. Okay, so I'm changing step 3 instead of spin out to Oilco, because Oilco is now Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. NBHC, Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. There we go. NBHC on the GBTP in your MGBGT with your PBGV. There we go. That's your another acronym, confusing acronym. Going into Oilco, we still have 165 million outstanding shares. It's where you have this limited amount, you're going to see a run up. And of course, like I said, where I start to sell my shares at. I thought maybe I saw a gas value that turns out not to be true. It was a message somebody sent to me with a different gas value, but they were talking about, and they showed all these screen clips. They're talking about gas. They show these screen clips, and it's a screen clip from something else they put in with this. I thought maybe that Nextbridge went live and they talked about the gas. That was not the case. So when the gas comes out, I will do a calculation on the dividend based on the gas. Going forward, I'd like to see the S1 because I want to know, who owns what of this 500 million shares. Of course, this says, potential. This is the total amount of shares in the reserves. It doesn't have to be 500 million, although if they weren't going to go above 250 million, why change it? I kind of agree with that sentiment. So here we see 500 million shares. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, keep in mind that we need to pay off the loan to Oilco from Meta, plus 7%, as well as, 25 million to raise in capital. And that was also part of the loan paperwork, the contingency on this loan. And that will fund the 2022 drilling plan. If you need that, why, if there's an interested party, why would you need this? If there's an interested party in that, like I believe, it could still take a couple of months for that to close. If you announced a buyer right after the spin out into Nextbridge Hydrocarbons and MMTLP went goodbye, 6 weeks at the soonest, 4 months on a later timeline. So anywhere from 6 weeks to 4 months for that deal to close. And that particular time, maybe you're going to finish up those wells, those 5 new wells, and that mitigates a lot of risk. That reduces the risk for the buying company. So that's just something to consider. We have those contingencies to be met for the loan. And that might be why you have this increased share with Nextbridge Hydrocarbons. Something to consider. It's not concrete. It's just my thoughts. Again, this isn't like advice. This is just like my own personal diary, and it's my own speculation. And if new information comes about, I change things. a lot of people like to critique me, but if new information comes to light, I will change things based on this new information. You know, it's more of a dynamic situation. It's not black or white. It's very dynamic and changing. Okay, guys, I will see you soon. Goodbye.